Round 8 of the RSRA Super Series. Hello and welcome. Nice to have your company and be at your place wherever you may be tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Tonight, for the first time in RSRA Super Series history, we head to Austria for the RedBullring and the Devon Stove Design Red Bull 160. Zach Caban in the commentary box with you alongside me tonight. Not Chris Kisby as it usually would be, not Matt Davis either, who is normally Plan B. So this is what Plan C looks like and sounds like. It's our good mate who normally produces the broadcast, but tonight we'll have a finger in every pie, in a sense, in JP. Mate, good evening to you. Critical point of the championship, starting to reach the business end of the season. And for the second time this season, a new circuit has been thrown at all these guys, so the challenge is alive.
Yeah, good evening, Zach, and good evening to all the viewers all around Australia and all around the world on the stations of SimShed Broadcasting. Tonight really promises to be some great racing. New track. These guys haven't raced on this track together. Well, they've only raced on it probably the last week. So we should be in for some really exciting racing tonight.
We'll have a look at the circuit for you in just a moment, of course. Last week threw up some great racing. We are in sprint mode right through until the end of the season now, of course, with our enduro behind us and our reverse grid racing behind us as well. Tonight, 38 laps the journey. I'll go through all the race info for you in just a moment. But first up, the championship points as they stand coming into this round. And, in the absence of Rainer Costello, we detailed last week that he's likely to miss the rest of the championship. It is Dylan Rudd with a fairly good, handy advantage at this point in time. 108 points, in fact. 1,047 plays. Matthew Scholes, 939. Rehan Leonage, 931. He's creeping up there nicely, isn't he? Dylan Pereira, 906. And Jamie Dyke on 895. Peter Crossingham, 893. 873 for Dean Reddit. Dean Alessi on 840, then 837 for Mitch Campbell and 823 for Alan Dawson. Have a look at that. 93, 73, 23. All the threes lining up there very nicely. Alex Court, Brian Cooper, Craig Schultz, Lindsay Hobson, Simon Chadwick make up the top 15. We'll let that keep rolling. JP, barring some unforeseen circumstances, barring, you know, a crash or a retirement or a 0-point score, Dylan Rudd is odds-on favourite at the moment for the 9-5 SimSport team.
He's 100%. He's looking really good at the moment, and I think he knows that he's going to work at consolidating his championship moving forward, and it's really a matter of everyone else trying to catch up to him.
Indeed it is. Looking forward to this race tonight, mate. Of course, the RedBullring in Austria. You've got a hot lap there, and in a rare treat for us, you're going to talk us through it live on air. A hot lap of this 4.309 kilometre RedBullring circuit.
All right, here we go. We're getting started here, going through the last section of the hot lap here before we get to the start-finish. So I'm sort of winding up to it now. I'm going to let the car keep running, and then after we cross the control line, I'll talk everyone through the hot lap. So right about now, I'm starting to get on the power. I've been warming up the tyres. I've been making sure that the brakes are nice and warm, and now I'm starting my lap nice and early, get myself going, and we'll start this hot lap here. Now it's very crucial coming through this section of the track to get a good run out here onto this second to last corner. On the last turn here, nice and tight. I don't get as good a run as I want. As a matter of fact, I get the car pretty sideways, but flat on the power as quickly as I can, get through the gears without hitting the rev limiter. Now on the brakes, nice and hard, start to shift down second gear, third gear, right onto the power, nice and early again, into sixth gear, heading up, start that head up that short little hill here. I want to try to straighten this section out here, get on the brakes nice and hard, start shifting down first gear, early turn in, on the power, nice and hard again coming out of this section. Through the gears nicely. This section here, get as much of the car over as I can. On the brakes, second gear, I start to trail the brakes, come in, turn in early, take a little bit of the curb here, on the power, nice and early through this section here. Get the car to the other side of the road, taking up all the track, as much of the track as I can. Third gear, trail the brake, on the power, nice and early again. Fourth gear, squirt on that power, on the brakes, third gear, trail the brakes in here. Now get on the power, nice and early, fourth gear, fifth gear. I can get the car up to sixth gear going through here. On the brake, shift down to fourth gear for me. Trail the brakes in, take as much of that corner as I can to straighten it out. On the power early, brakes, third gear, turn in early, take a bit of that curb. On the power early again, and that is one hot lap of the Red Bull Ring.
And a fine lap it was too on board the SimShed Racing Supercar, or SimShed Broadcasting Supercar, I should point out in this case. Now, I mentioned too that this is one of 5 sprint rounds we got to the end of the season. Now, the last one is a double. It's essentially a reverse grid round like what we saw earlier in the season, but with sprint race lengths. The sprint race length that you got accustomed to during season 1 of the Goodyear Auto Carolina V8 T2 E-Series, which is of course now what we refer to as the Super 2 E-Series for RSRA. And of course, a regular distance race like what you're seeing here tonight. On that subject, let's have a look at the race facts and information for you as we head into this round. It is round 8, the Devon Stove Design 160, 4.31 kilometre circuit, 38 laps, 163.8 kilometres is the race distance. 60 kilometres an hour is the pit lane speed limit. Fuel restriction to 46.2 litres on these cars, which will mean 2 pit stops because at fuel burn of 3.3 litres a lap, that's 14 laps to a tank. So 14.28, you can get home on a 10-lap stint. Watch for teams to or select drivers to maybe tweak with that setup a little bit in terms of when they come to pit lane, whether they opt to go 14, 10 and 14 or 14 and 11, and you know, there's several different numerical combinations there, but the key number is 39 because they need that extra lap in the tank at the end of the race to get back to park for May. 2 sets of tyres, as is the norm for these guys tonight. The race date, the 10th of August 2021, 3:30 in the afternoon, the start time, which is about 11:30 p.m. our time. I'm glad that doesn't sync up because it'd be a very long night for us if that were the case. 24 is the air temp, 39 on track, so that's nice and warm. 10 kilometre an hour southerly winds. The information there for you. And JP, just looking at your hot lap there and looking at the track map on the top left corner of that information map we just had up on the screen. Couple of things here. The brakes are going to get a fair workout. A very high-speed circuit, very easy to run off the bitumen onto the AstroTurf, onto the runoff area, and also very hard by virtue of the fact that it is basically a lot of straights. It's basically QR with a little bit of undulation, if I'm frank. Makes it very hard to break the toe. So we should see a lot of built-up packs tonight trying to duke it out for position here.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few passing opportunities here, but one thing that everyone is going to have to be very, very careful of is the pit entry. Cross that control line, cross that line going into the pit entry, and you will get a penalty. So everybody is going to have to be very careful of that tonight.
And as this is the new track on the iRacing server, they're being very crystal clear in the server, the rules of the racetrack and where the track limits are, where they'll be pinged for off tracks. And on that note, it's important we do have a look at a couple of little things here. As we said, pit lane speed is 60 kilometres an hour. Don't worry too much about that. That'll only become an issue during the pit stop window. But incident points kick in at 17x and every 10x thereafter. So you can be a little bit loose with the off tracks if needs be, but there are bonus points on the line for clean races. So a lot to take into consideration there, JP, as we see the checkered flag wave on qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are going to have to be on top of their game tonight. This is a very fast track. This is a flowing track. There are some really heavy braking zones and areas where guys can actually really capitalise from. So, and of course, they have to be very careful going into the pit entry and onto the exit as well. So, we're bound to see some really good racing tonight.
There we are. Now we've got about another 5 minutes here to shoot the breeze, because at the end of the day, these guys, once the checkered flag has flown, once they're back in pit lane, race control will start their 5-minute drivers briefing. So that gives us a little bit of extra time to kill. Let me have a look at the grid for you provisionally as it sits. Jamie Dyke is second fastest. 2/10 margin, or 2/10 of a buffer is the margin there from Dylan Rudd to Jamie Dyke. So it's not much, but it's enough to get pole position for Dylan Rudd. Dylan Pereira, again, a second row start. He did that last week as well on the streets of Belle Isle in Detroit. Of course, what is noticeable this week, you've got grass and you've got gravel traps, ladies and gentlemen. You've got a bit of a runoff area. Last week it was just concrete waiting to chew you up. Aaron Dodd a little bit further down the order, but Rehan Leonage impressive in 4th place. Dodd is 6th. Cameron Jones is 7th. Sean McNamara, after the heroics of last week, has only managed 11th fastest here. And just having a look further down the order, Alex Court. I dare say he won't be too happy, JP, either. The Triple Eight is down in 20th position, an uncharacteristically poor performance in qualifying for Court.
Yeah, he's obviously not able to put a decent run together, so no, he won't be very happy with that. But yeah, keep an eye on him. We'll watch how he progresses during the course of the race tonight.
Looking forward to it immensely. So the server's just about to come to a close here. Qualifying is done. Been an interesting championship so far, JP, and not without its drama, but not internally, I have to say. It's been externally with iRacing coming down hard on young Rainer Costello. That's really taken a little bit of a shine off the battle between Holden and Ford at the front of the field, and Holden have had the measure at the FORDs in Rainer's absence.
Yeah, look, it was really disappointing, the whole incident with Rayner and iRacing, and unfortunately, you know, he's a young kid. He thought he'd be able to get away with racing when he had a ban, and that didn't work out for him. So he's probably out for the rest of the season. But I'm sure when he comes back, he's going to be raring to go, and he's going to be as hungry as ever. And as you said, though, with him out of the picture, it really has been. I guess it's been the Dylan Rudd show.
Absolutely, and it's hard to know who's going to step up to the plate and challenge him tonight. I mean, Jamie Dyke has been impressive in the last couple of weeks, but not without that. Not. He hasn't been in a position to convert his pace into an outright race win as yet. Dylan Pereira is edging closer. Rehan Leonage, you know, for a youngster, he's really taking it to some of the older guys in the server. And, you know, I mean, when I say older, I mean people that are 18 or over in the instance of when you're talking in reference to Rehan Leonage. Aaron Dodd, again, a case of what might have been his pace has been there all season. He has unfortunately had a couple of indiscretions and misfortunes along the way. Cameron Jones and Sean McNamara, I have to say, for everyone that watched season 1 here, JP, back from February through to June, it was nice to see people like McNamara and Jones back up the pointy end of town last week duking it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, guys like McNamara, Jones, um, Aaron Dodd, they've really fallen foul to what can only be called as some really rotten luck early on in the championship. You know, Aaron's unfortunately fallen foul to some race control issues, running out of fuel, things of that nature. But I think he's gathered it all up. He's going to be very strong for the tail end of of the season, and if we see him back next season, he's definitely going to be a contender.
So we've got about 2.5 minutes here before the cars start lining up on the grid. If it's not Dylan Rudd tonight, JP, who do you think it'll be?
I think Jamie Dyke is looking really good. He's been coming on form the last few rounds, so you know, look out for him. Dylan Pereira is fantastic. He needs to get his starts a little bit better. He needs to work on his consistency a little bit more. But yeah, he's definitely one to look out for. And Cameron Jones is always fast. I mean, last week he had that blinder of a start off the line.
Yeah.
He just has to keep it together for the race distance, and you know, he can certainly be there at the end of the 38 laps.
What will be interesting tonight is if the safety car does make an appearance. We haven't seen it too much in recent weeks. I mean, the odd appearance here and there, and thankfully, you know, we got through the street course races without too much of an appearance by the safety car. I think it was 2 across 250 kilometers in Chicago, 1 across 160 kilometers in Detroit. So, I mean, we'll wait and see. We've got a lot more runoff area here, a lot more real estate to play with. Whether we see the safety car or not remains to be seen tonight. Reminder, of course, we are here with thanks to the great people at Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, Warana, Racecraft Simulations, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Devon Stove Designs, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, FU Suicide, SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet, and SimShed Broadcasting. So a huge thanks to all those people that make it possible for us to do what we do and bring you all the action from the RSA Super Series. Of course, the Devon Stove Design Red Bull 160 right here and now. Census night, so perfect distraction if you're procrastinating, putting off filling out your census. Keep your eyes on this. We'll keep you occupied at least until 10 o'clock. And then off you go to fill out the census. And good luck if you haven't already started, because there's a lot of questions involved in that. Quick shout out to Mr. Ian Bartholomew tuning in this evening. Of course, looking forward to seeing Ian and Cam and the rest of the XL Brigade back in action when we go real world racing again. Of course, that's been a bit stop, start, hit, miss in recent weeks with the COVID lockdown situation and everything else caught up in that. It's good to have Ian on board tuning into the broadcast tonight. It is Dylan Rudd and Jamie Dyke on the front row here tonight. We're about to get the grid brought up on your screen here, ladies and gentlemen, because the cars are about to line up here and get ready to go for 38 laps, 163.8 kilometres. So, you know, just over half the length of a Formula One Grand Prix at this track. There they are, lining up on the grid. That is Jamie Dyke starting from position number 2. Looking forward to seeing how he'll launch off the line tonight. Dylan Rudd's on the front row alongside Jamie Dyke, Dylan Pereira and Rehan Leonage from row 2, Simon Chadwick and Aaron Dodd from row 3. So a lot of the regular protagonists at that end of town. Cameron Jones and Matthew Scholes from 4, Peter Crossingham and Craig Schultz from 5, Sean McNamara and David Kirby from row 6. Rick Sibra's on row 7 alongside Brenton Nitschke. Then you go back to Kai Turner and Hayden Norris, Lindsay Hobbs and Robert Crisdale make up the 9th row. Sam Noble and Alex Court 20th. The 10th row, the 20th position is where Court sits. 21st is Dean Alessi, alongside him Alan Dawson, Dean Powell and Rod Hollis from row 12. Over the page to row 13, Mitch Campbell and Dean Reddit. Row 14, Jacob Brewer and Brian Cooper. Row 15, Chris Barnes and Peter Kelly. They're set. Round 8 of the championship. Off, racing. Rudd by the country mile. He's spread on the field to turn 1. And he's taken Dylan Pereira with him. I couldn't quite see Pereira. He was just lurking as a shadow behind Rudd. And he's gone through in front of Dyke in the early stages. A cracking start from Pereira as they head down to turn 2 for the first time. Through they go. Dyke slots in position number 3. Leonage is 4th. Dodd up into position number 5. So Dodd's gained a little bit off the start as they head down towards turn 3 and 4. As we say, only 9 turns on this circuit. 4 wide, if you don't mind. That's a recipe for trouble.
Oh, there you go.
There it is. I can see that one coming. But apart from that, JP, the elbows are out, but it's been pretty clean so far.
Yeah, look, they've had a really good start so far. Like you said, elbows out. Have to expect that with the supercars. But yeah, very, very clean racing, and looks like Dylan Rudd is just trying to clear out the stage.
Indeed. Through they come onto the main straight, 1 lap in the books. That's a nice clean getaway. And Dylan Rudd, Pereira is 2nd, 3rd is Dyke. We go on board a little bit further back with Cameron Jones in 7th position. All over the back of the 737, of course, in Aaron Dodd now as they head down to turn 2.
Now, what can Cameron do here? He is the king of the late breakers, so let's see what he tries to do, if anything.
Nothing in the stage.
Really smart, actually really smart driving.
Oh. Absolutely. Because he got a much better run out of turn 2, or 3, or whatever you want to call it, than Dodd. Because Dodd tucked into the inside line. And now, okay, so Dodd's managed to hold on there, but not by much. Not by much.
Dean Power goes wide through there.
Dean Alessi's going to have a look, but he's going to be on the wrong side of the racetrack. On the outside. Whoa, a little bit of argy-bargy. Hip and shoulder. It continues down the pack. Through they go again.
Great to see these guys racing door to door and giving each other enough room too.
100%. How long that'll last for, that etiquette, that courtesy, remains to be seen. Onto the main straight. Here's our race leader, Dylan Rudd, just checking out. He's done a nice job so far, JP. Just got the start he wanted and has checked out. Look at that. A second at least up his sleeve already.
Yeah, he's cleared out nicely, and he's really going to make Pereira and Dyke work for it. If they need to, get him, they have to keep up with him. So that might be his strategy: get them to wear their tyres early, so he can just run away with it.
Okay, just a comment coming on the SimShed broadcasting page about live timing, mate. If you can have a look at that while I take the reins here, because I'm not getting a feed through either as they make their way through. So lap 3 of 38. Nice bit of driving there on the inside. The 951 of McNamara trying to force the issue on the outside though. He's got Crossingham for company. There they go. Oh, Skulls actually. So, it's all happening at the moment. The battle further down the order. McNamara in 10th, trying to find a way by. Next time we go back on board with the 303. Plenty of action, plenty to see and do here in Austria. The aerial shot shows you just how tightly bunched this pack is at the moment as they head down the main straight. So at the end of that last lap, it was Rudd, Pereira, Dyke, Leonage, Chadwick, Dodd, Jones, Crossingham, then Schultz and McNamara are the top 10 right now. McNamara all over the back of Schultz, Crossingham, and he's got Scott. He managed to get by Scholes. You saw that move. Down the hill once more. That's the great thing about this Austrian circuit. Plenty of uphill, downhill undulation, rise and fall, and just It's a quick racetrack. Whoa, off onto the AstroTurf there. Brendan Nitschke, of course, one of the race winners so far this season. In 0.66 sitting down there. It was 14th. It was 14th. He has now dropped down to 16th. Kirby coming through. So to turn one once more, lap 5 of 38. Gee, that went quick, didn't it? The two Dylans are 1 and 2. It's Rudd and Pereira. Jamie Dyke is third. Rehan Leonage fourth. Then Chadwick. Dodd, Jones, Crossingham, Schultz and McNamara were the top 10 last time by the line. So not much movement inside the top 10 at the moment. You've got Rehan Leonage on screen there. You've got Simon Chadwick in behind him. Then Aaron Dodd. Leonage. Oh, maturity well beyond his years. PG's overplay at the moment. And we've become accustomed to that from him so far, JP. He has been one of the true standout performers of the RSRA Super Series.
Yeah, every week, you just have nothing but good things to say about Leonage, and he is just getting better and better. And racing beyond his years, because he is out there mixing it up with guys who are twice or even older than, twice as old or even older than that than he is, and he's doing a great job of it.
Fourth place, and let's be honest, folks, we're racing to the first round of pit stops, then the second round, then if we get a safety car somewhere along the way, we're racing to the next target. We're not exactly trying to get to 38 straight away here, so Leonage has got room for improvement as night goes on. There's the top 7 all in view on the main straight. That is 4, 5, 6, 7 at the bottom of your screen. 8, 9 and 10 behind that. McNamara still sitting in 10th, but having dropped off. The bumper of Craig Schultz there, who's still trying to go with Peter Crossingham. Have a look at that battle erupting in behind. Is Cameron Jones. We've got one eye on him at the moment to see if he can work his way up towards the podium position here. At the moment, no is the answer to that. We're right on board with Craig Schultz now. Lap 6 of 38. The RSRA Super Series. Devon Stove Design 160 from the RedBullring in Austria. The newest permanent racing track on iRacing. Not of course forgetting that they have added the Nashville Super Speedway, but when I say circuit, that kind of separates the two, doesn't it? Because one is an oval. It's good to see a couple of road courses creeping in. That Phantom Sprint Circuit as well in Chicago. The iRacing platform really expanding. And the good news, JP, we were all so engrossed in the previous round of the Formula One World Championship, the Hungarian Grand Prix. The Budapest circuit is coming to iRacing as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, that track. So looking forward to that one.
Rudd, Pereira, Dyke, Leonage and Chadwick, the top 5 at the moment. We go back to Alex Court sitting there in position number 12. And this has been a hallmark of his campaign, hasn't it, JP? I mean, sure, last week didn't go to plan in Detroit, but he raced as well. He might not necessarily have the one-lap pace, but when it comes to durability, or indurability in this case, he's got it in spades.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, he's not really been able to really capitalise on qualifying pace this season, but when it comes to race pace, he has got plenty of that, and he normally just sets about making his way to the top of the timetable to the pointy end of the track. So we'll see how he gets on during the race.
Here they go once more. The 34 there. Under pressure at the moment, being passed as well. So that's Dean Alessi, and And Hollis getting by him, was it? No, it was the 953, of course, which is Sam Noble. So those two were in that current order they sit in the previous time by the stroke. So unless he had made an attack on Noble, but now it's been reverted once more. Lap 8 of 38 onto the main straight we go. Remember those numbers too, folks. 10 and 14. Any time between there will be when we see the first stop. And then based on that, you'll try and get to 27 or 28 or you'll try and get to lap 38, I should say, from there. Be that because you stop on lap 12, you can then stop on lap 26 and get home with 13 laps of fuel, making sure you've got one slowdown lap. There's a few different ways they can play the strategy tonight. It doesn't have to be straight down the middle, 14 and 14. They can tweak that to please themselves. And given the first stint has been, technically speaking, characteristically, JP, they've opted to run as long as they can that first stint, and then some, by virtue of the fact that new tyres are waiting for them in the pit lane, shorten that second stint. So if anything, I expect something similar tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I think these guys are going to extend that first stint as long as they can, try to get into a rhythm, size up the guys that they're racing against, and then that look at that last stint as being their shortest stint of the race.
About the numbers being so round and nice for us is there shouldn't be too much of a need for fuel saving, JP. However, push comes to shove, there'll be someone that tries to save a little bit. That said, given how flat out this circuit is, I don't see too many great opportunities, great benefits in trying to fuel save tonight.
No, it's going to be a lot harder to fuel save, but where you can pick up time is going to be on that pit entry and pit exit.
Towards turn 3 once more. So that sweeping left is 2. Then here, the scene of madness in MotoGP the other night, that's turn 3. Up the hill they go. Drop down to turn 4, JP.
Yeah, it also feels like Rian's being a little bit of a cork in the bottle there, but until he gets to that turn there and he's able to walk away from the guys, I kind of get the feeling that Leonage is just managing his race where he is, and he's happy to sit there at this stage.
These guys in behind aren't necessarily too enthusiastic on trying to find a way by. They seem content to just lead and follow at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of looking that way, and look, it is kind of the smart way to race at the minute. It's early days, there's still a lot of racing to go. They're just being patient.
Patience is a virtue, but it's normally one that's lost on the racetrack. However, tonight is the exception to the rule. Onto the main straight again, we're on to lap 10. So this top 4 remain status quo. Chadwick, Dodd, Jones, Crossingham, Schultz and McNamara in behind them. And we go back to watching that battle at the head of the field. Riding on board with Cameron Jones. So he's the last car in the battle pack here. Who's holding the strongest hand? Who is playing a game of poker here at the moment and tricking these guys? Who's scheming? Who is holding a little in the tank in reserve, ready for that final run of the checkered flag? There could be a bit of gamesmanship going on here at the moment.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that Chadwick might be the one that's just sitting back and just waiting for Leonage to maybe put a foot wrong, or just waiting for an opportunity to sort of start pushing a little bit harder.
He'll be the catalyst. If he has a crack, it'll prompt Dodd to have a crack and Jones to have a crack as well. At Leonage is 5 car lengths clear at the moment. So, meanwhile at the front, no change. Jamie Dyke has tucked into 3rd position, but he's only 0.6 of a second away from Dylan Pereira, and the leader, Dylan Rudd, 4.27 seconds up the road. Here's the 3rd place Dyke. That's close to Mr. Dylan Pereira.
Yeah, he's absolutely checked out. He's just on his way to the postcode, really.
There are a few people who, given the lockdown situation, would be very happy to trade places with him and, like that, be on their way to a different postcode themselves at the moment. Unfortunately, that isn't to be the case. So, lap 11, almost to that first round of pit stops. Let's take this opportunity, in fact, while we can, to ride on board with Dylan Rudd. You saw JP talk you through a lap of the Red Bull Ring earlier. Let's have Dylan Rudd take you on a lap of the Red Bull Ring, but let's just let the volume, the noise of the supercar, the Holden, do the work here as we crank up the volume in Austria. Seconds. You've missed nothing in behind. Dylan Pereira is still second. Jamie Dyke is third. Rehan Leonage, Simon Chadwick, Aaron Dodd, Cameron Jones, Peter Crossingham. Sean McNamara has found away by Craig.
Here we go.
That's the only difference. That's 9th and 10th. Now, here's Leonage under pressure from Chadwick up on the outside to turn 3. The first real big plunge of the night. And it unfortunately didn't go to script for him because he's now under pressure from Aaron Dodd trying to find a way through the middle. But still Chadwick forces the issue on the run down to 5. And Leonage keeps him at bay, but locks it up. He's gone too deep, and oh boy, look at that. Aaron Dodd says, I'll take the pair of you, thank you very much. Rehan Leonage loses 4 places in the one corner. And all of a sudden, Jones moves up to 6th, Dodd up to 4th. Chadwick remains where he was in 5th. And Peter Crossingham's latched onto the back of this battle and is having a grand old time. He's now 7th. Yep. Big implications, unfortunately, for Rehan Leonage there, JP. But a pinch break is all it took as we see our first bit of pit activity now.
And we've got Dylan Rudd in the pits as well.
Yeah. Cameron Jones as well.
Yeah, look, and that's what I was alluding to. You know, they were sitting there waiting for something to happen. I think Chadwick decided to put the hurry on Leonage, and Leonage had to go defensive. And the minute he went defensive, that's when he held himself open.
It was forceful and aggressive and bold from Simon Chadwick to hold the line on the outside there. It eventually paid off, and in a big way too. He got rid of Leonage, but then he remained exactly where he was because poor old Aaron Dodd said, you know what, I'll take both of you at the same time. And it was very smartly done from Dodd too. But again, that's the patience that we're used to seeing from the pros at the head of town here. And I mean, nothing wrong with the way Leonage is driving thus far. It's just unlucky that because of the nature of this track where the traffic is built up around him, any pinch break was going to be costly. And unfortunately for him, he lost all 4 positions in that corner. However, with 25 to go, we're only on lap 14, 25 to go, real chance for him to make that up as the race goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. He can certainly make those up, and we probably will see him make up some positions as the race goes on. Next round of pit stops.
Pit lane getting busier as the night goes on. Here they come. So Jamie Dyke, Aaron Dodd, Simon Chadwick, all opting to come in. And so to Brenton Nitschke, who's running 4th at the moment. Dylan Rudd, the best of those that has stopped. Here he comes down the main straight right now to return to the lead. And that's another critical thing too here, JP. Pit transit time, hitting your markers is absolutely essential, absolutely critical here. And look at that. No mucking around from Aaron Dodd, straight back out onto the racetrack. Because at the end of the day, being such a long lap, with the field so closely matched on lap times as they are, any time lost on pit road is going to be very hard to claw back, and it is a long transit lane.
Yeah, 100%. And we saw that early stop for Rudd and Pereira really paid off. They put a bit of a hold there on Jamie Dyke. Pereira's come out 2.3 seconds ahead of Jamie Dyke, but Jamie Dyke is starting to eat into that right now.
Good stuff, side by side racing here. Aaron Dodd. And also the 956 there as well, of course, of Peter Crossingham. So Crossingham, that's going to be interesting to see how this balances out. Because you wouldn't have expected, you wouldn't have expected him to be right out there on the tail. Or in front of, I should say, Aaron Dodd. Has Crossingham pitted though yet? I don't have that information on me because the SDK timing's not working. So everyone has pitted. So this is going to be an interesting little stanza of the race here as they come back across the line. Rudd leads Pereira. Costly pit stop window there for Aaron Dodd, who has dropped down to 7th position. 15 seconds off the leaders. That did not go to script for him. Peter Crossingham has dropped up into position number 6 now. Rehan Leonage is Cameron Jones, the big winner in that pit window, actually. So it's essentially Rehan Leonage and Cameron Jones, the winners in that pit window. On corrected order, you can see it on your screen there. Rudd, Pereira, Dyke, Jones, Leonage, Crossingham and Dodd. Dodd was 4th. He's dropped down. Chadwick's dropped back to 9th in all of that. So, in fact, Dodd and Chadwick both losers in all of that. McNamara's up to 8th. Some big changes in that first round of pit stops, and it could well tell part of the story, part of the narrative at the end of the night here. Whoa, side by side. Good hard racing here. Alex Court on the outside, getting muscled out of that, actually. The Repco car up there on his inside right now. So Alex caught in the thick of it at the moment, JP.
Yeah, he was just on the wrong side of the road there going into that section. He got hung out to dry and almost had Hayden Norris make a move on him, but he was able to recover really quickly. So he's got to start all of that again and work on Craig Schultz. And I can tell you from experience, Craig Schultz is not an easy driver to pass. He's absolutely tenacious and will hold on to his lead.
22 to go, like 17 to 38 for you. Through the first round of pit stops. More where that came from for you in a few laps' time, of course, as the drivers will hit the lane again to get the fuel required and the set of tyres required to get them to the checkered flag. In the meantime, the 0-2-0 continues. That's, of course, Hayden Norris continues to harass Alex Court here. So Rudd and Pereira and Dyke remain 1, 2, and 3 as they've been for much of the night. Whoa, Leonage under pressure here from Crossingham and Dodd. Crossingham, you're a big mover of the night. Try to go around the outside and does. Will he take Aaron Dodd with him? Not yet. Crossingham moves to 5th. This has been one of the more impressive performances from Peter Crossingham so far this season, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. He hasn't come from obscurity, but he's just been chipping away at the V8, chipping away at it, and now it's like that light switch has been turned on for him, and he's finding those. He's finding that extra pace.
Across the line we go. Dylan Rudd, Dylan Pereira, Jamie Dyke, Cameron Jones, Peter Crossingham and Rian Leonage, the top 6. Aaron Dodd is 7th. Sean McNamara is 8th. Then you get back to Simon Chapman, Matthew Scholes, Craig Schultz and Alex Court.
Oh, have a look at that.
The 208, Schultz with a big slide. That's going to allow Scholes down the inside to maintain his position. Maybe take Court with him. Let's have a look at this. 3 wide on the run to 3. Does Court hang it down the inside? Yes, he does. Does he get both of them? Yes, he does. Whoa! Big sliding moment for Scholes. That's costly.
Yeah, that was a big moment for Scholes there. Awesome passing by Court as well, though. You know, three wide. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Very gutsy move, determined move from Alex Court. Through they come again. How good is this racing? It might not be the battle for the lead, but the battle for the mid-pack is delivering at the moment. Court, Schultz. Then we go back to Norris. Down the main straight. Court and all of that has gained 2 positions up to 10th. 11th for Schultz. Norris is 12th. Scholes is now 13th. 5 positions thus far, JP.
Yep, you see here Leonage is starting to come under attack by Dodd. Although Dodd had a bit of a slide there, so he would have put a bit of heat into his tyres. Doesn't want to do that again. He's right up on the back of Leonage now, so let's see what he can do.
Like 19 and 38. So half race distance at the end of this lap. Aaron Dodd, we ride on board with him, trying to find a way by Rehan Leonage, of course. Leonage sitting in 6th. At the front, Rudd, Pereira, Dyke. So essentially those 3 are running where they started. The exception being that Dyke and Pereira have swapped positions for the benefit of Pereira in 2nd. No one else in the top 10 at this stage remains where they started. There have been a couple drop down the order, but a lot have moved forward. Great racing here at the Red Bull Ring.
What's even better is everyone that has started is still racing, so we've got no retirements at this stage.
No, none. It's fantastic. The safety car might get a night off. Next week, of course, don't forget, the Imola circuit in Italy will play host to the 9th round of the championship. And we're under twin ring Mategi for the Violet and Bathurst to round things off for the RSRA Super Series.
A little slide there by Leonage. That's going to bring him back into the hands of Dodd. And what's Dodd going to do? He's looking for the over and under.
And I tell you what, Leonage didn't make it easy for him, but Dodd's got him done. Got him covered around the outside. That was a really nice piece of driving. Not for the first time tonight have we seen Leonage put under pressure at that corner. This time it's just the one position he loses. Dodd trying to fight his way back through.
Yeah, being on the outside there actually gave him the benefit of being able to get on the power a lot earlier than Leonage and then just make that move nice and easy.
This race set down for 38 laps at the end of the 20th. We are 31 seconds in. So this is shaping up to be one of our quicker races of the season thus far. If we get a safety car, it'll push the field up. But at the moment, it's over 62, 63 minutes of racing here. Still one pit stop to come for a lot of these guys. At the moment, you're watching Hayden Norris there in 12th place.
Just being accused of commentator's curse here by Will Jesberg, but look, you know, I'll never be upset for cursing anyone and making the racing a little bit spicier.
All in the name of entertainment, as they say.
You see here, Court hasn't really been able to shake these guys behind him off, so they are sticking with him.
And that's the thing. We mentioned it at the start of the call, it's so hard to break the toe here. You really need something to go wrong with the car behind you to get a little bit of a buffer. While ever these guys are this close to Court, they'll stay that close because they're all running very similar lap times. It's very hard to draw any sort of an advantage on a track where slipstreaming is king. On board with Robert Christgau now, down in 20th place. Uncharacteristic for him.
He actually came afoul of that lap one incident where a few cars went off track. So I dare say somebody tagged the back of his car. So he's running without a boot lid. So by iRacing standards, that should make the car quicker.
Yes, true. Down the inside to 19th. Sorry, the 20th, I should say, goes the car that was behind Robert Christgau, which of course is Dean Alessi, and Christgau back to 21st. Like 22 or 38. We're about to get to that last round of pit stops, so let's take one more opportunity, folks, and we're able to do it tonight because there's not as much action per se out there. It's more just a case of follow the leader until we get to that final stint. Here's Christgau going back down the inside, back into 20th position. Let's take one last opportunity to crank up the volume and hear the V8s roar before we get the checkered flag. You might have noticed something very similar from this run in Dylan Rudd's Commodore to the last one, ladies and gentlemen, which was only about, 15 minutes ago. Yeah, clear real estate, clear air, no one around. Just soldiering on and sailing off into the sunset and doing so to the tune of over 10 seconds now, the race lead.
Kind of looks like he's out there on his own for a Sunday drive.
A bit like most of Southeast Queensland was last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to mention there by Will Jesberg, I mentioned the rear wing on the supercars. He really hopes that they fix that in the next build, and I believe it's coming, Will. But let's see what happens. We'll believe it when we see it. But yeah, hopefully soon.
Exactly. iRacing's continually trying to launch updates and upgrades and everything else.
Have a look at this.
Oh, this is... Oh, sliding through is Cameron Jones. The first bit of real excitement we've seen in about 20 minutes, and Jones tries it down the inside to retain fourth. But not without some serious pressure from Peter Crossingham. The NTS replay to show it to you one more time.
Now, we missed that, but I think what had happened, Peter Crossingham had a bit of a slide before that, and this could show it.
Crossingham got himself to the outside, Jones to the inside. Yeah. This is the telltale down here at turn 5. You'll watch Jones down the inside, and then you'll watch him flip and slide. There it is. Oh, just barely hung onto it. Extraordinary car control.
Absolutely. But even with being able to go down the inside like that and come back to the outside of the track, he was able to maintain car pace. So he's in the pits now, so let's see what happens with the balance of the race.
That's important to note, because we are at that point where you can pit up and get home. Fuel up, pit, box, take on the tyres and get home.
Wow, have a look at this. Craig Schultz gets muscled by Matthew Scholes.
Down they go. Scholes to the inside, Schultz on the outside. He'll try and do what so many have done already tonight and hold the inside line for the next corner and capitalise there, and that's what he's done.
That's courtesy of having that better run on the outside there.
Normally, you associate the outside with the sticky stuff, the marbles and everything else. Not in this case. Not enough rubber being laid down for that. Here is a bunch of leading cars into the pit lane.
Now this is interesting. Dyke has followed Pereira into the pits this time.
We'll see if he can't muster up some sort of an advantage out of pitting at the same time. They were all in their window. They can all get home. Don't worry about that. There
Have a
we
look
go.
at that.
That is tight, but really cool. To be able to watch that live as it happened, that was phenomenal. Rehan Leonage being left oh, sorry, it's Alex Court, is it? Being left behind. One of the NPS cars. Actually, it might have been Rehan Leonage. So Leonage has dropped back in the order as a result of all of that.
This was a really smart move by Dyke here, following Pereira in, covering him off. He must have had a blinder into the pits, into the pit bay there. So now he's right behind and is able to really start pushing Pereira and challenging for position.
Don't forget to stick around post-race 2, folks. We'll hear from the top 3 as we usually do. I don't think we'll keep them around terribly long tonight. There's not a hell of a lot to try and discuss in all of this at the moment. Maybe the next 11 laps will change that. Here comes Alex Court onto pit road now.
Now this is interesting. Rudd has been in the pits for 40 seconds. He has gotten himself a pit lane penalty.
Disaster for Dylan Rudd.
No.
If that's the case. No.
No. I speak too soon. That seems to be the time, the average pit lane time. So the last time.
Ah, gotcha.
Cameron Jones 49.77. So he's on the bubble there. Now, this is really interesting. Now, the pit lane, the pit times here. Dylan Pereira had a 50.87 stop, so his transverse of the pit lane and his stop. Jamie Dyke 48.43.
That's a big loss for Dyke in that case, then, if that's the case. So, Rudd 40 minutes and 35 seconds last time by the line leader of the race. That's him on your screen. Daylight second. Then Pereira. Dyke's right behind him. Can Dyke find a way by Pereira? That's what we wait to find out across the course of the next 10 minutes or so.
Now Pereira's showing a few purple sectors here, so he knows he needs to get a move on. He needs to put some clean air between himself and Dyke.
Easier said than done around here. They've been pretty evenly matched so far tonight, JP.
Absolutely, and he's got to be careful because if you push too hard, it is very easy to come unstuck.
Jamie Dyke there in third position. You're right on board with him at the moment. These two have been second and third in no particular order of preference all night. But now the pressure's on because Dyke needs to try and find a way by Pereira. Or a way to stay with him at the very least. If he can't do that, he's in a bit of trouble.
Between these two drivers, you'll see Pereira, he's going a lot harder into the corner. He's going a lot deeper into the corner, which is sacrificing a bit of mid-corner pace, whereas Dyke is braking a little bit earlier. He's falling a bit behind, but he's able to get a much better exit out of the corners here.
Uh-oh, trouble for Hayden Norris, JP, up at turn 3. He's pointing around the wrong way. He's managed to get back on the circuit now, but Norris has dropped a bunch of spots. He was running 11th. We've had our first bit of drama of the evening, and it's right here, right now on your NTS replay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Now,
Scott turned him around.
Did he turn him around, or did Norris turn himself around?
I want to, yeah, let's see that again if we can from the aerial shot maybe. It looked like there was contact from that angle, but looks can be deceiving. Three, two, one. Oh.
That's contact.
That is contact, all right.
And that will not end well for Skulls.
No.
Yeah,
In the same way that it didn't end well for well, it won't end well for Skulls, but it also won't end well for the bloke that turned him around. So, I mean, it's much of a muchness. There will be the stewards looking at the turnaround, but there will also be the fact that Skulls has lost that bunch of spots. So two losers in that situation, really. Norris, of course, was the one that got turned around and Skulls. Again, my apologies. So Norris and Skulls both losing out in all of that. Race Control will have a look at it, no doubt. Although that being said, they haven't had too much to look at tonight, JP. Race Control have really had an easy cruising night at the office.
Yeah, I can just imagine them up there in the race control booth, feet on desk. Here we go. Drive through 605, contact with 020. And look, I was we could see it happening, and with this series, for the people who are watching at home, if there is contact like that, the car does have an opportunity to redress the position, but they have to do it before they cross the start-finish line and complete the lap, which didn't happen, and therefore a drive-through penalty for Skulls.
Disappointing for him. Disappointing also for Norris. Whoa, geez. That was madness. The drag race here. This is, I believe I'm right in saying Craig Schultz and Dean Power, is it not? Side by side on the run down to turn 5. Power on the outside, sweeps across to take the position. Schultz had it a moment ago, lost it by getting taily on the exit of the previous corner and losing the drag race down the straight. It's so easy to do here.
Yeah, great racing there, great presence of mind by Power, just sticking with Schultz there.
Through they come again. Across the start finish line. Here we go. Here we go. Up on the outside. A change of position there. Is that crossing him? No, it's Aaron Dodd getting by Cameron Jones. Now Dodd goes through.
Now I wonder if there was something before that, because Cameron Jones seemed to hold up and let Aaron Dodd go past.
I'm sure we'll find out. So unfortunately for Cameron Jones, he's dropped down. They'll be 4th and 5th. Jamie Dyke still 3rd, Dylan Pereira 2nd, Dylan Rudd the leader. Forget about those three, pretty well separated at the moment. Dyke is still giving Pereira a hurry up, but doesn't look like making a move anytime soon. He's not close enough yet.
No,
Austria, the Red Bull Ring's one of those circuits, JP, where you really need to be on the bumper of the car in front.
Yeah, 100%. And what we have seen by Dyke, though, he's just been chipping away at Pereira's lead, lap after lap, just getting a little bit closer. Basically just saying, I'm here waiting for Pereira to make a mistake or to get to that point where he's close enough to make a move. And you can see now he's forcing Pereira to really start pushing.
Down the main straight. This is fantastic racing for 2nd and 3rd. They've been nose to tail much of the night. Jamie Dyke with an opportunity to grab a podium one way or another here. It's just a matter of which step of the podium it is. And Dylan Pereira coming on leaps and bounds on the podium last week, wanting to be back there this week with the intention of edging closer up the rostrum as the season goes on, edging closer to the top step and hopefully getting there at some point, cracking that elusive 1st place position at some point. 32 of 38, 6.5 to go. 11.9 the margin from 1st back to that battle on your screen. And again, we haven't seen much of Dylan Rudd tonight. There hasn't been much to show you or report, actually, ladies and gentlemen. These guys have just not been able to match it with Dylan Rudd. He has just checked out from the outset. And with 6 laps to go next time by the line, JP, it's just a matter of how big the winning margin is going to be, not who's going to win the race. That's not the question we're asking anymore. It's just how big is the advantage going to be for Dylan Rudd.
Yeah, 100%. That seems to be about the size of it tonight. And have a look at this matchup between Craig Schultz and David Kirby.
Schultz, having only previously lost out to Dean Powers, now under pressure from Kirby.
It kind of looks tonight like everybody has had a go at Craig Schultz.
Yeah, if you haven't had a go at Craig Schultz tonight, you're going to feel a little bit left out, aren't you? It's been one of those sorts of nights.
100%. But you know, to his credit, he's held up to it, and he's just raced on. And yeah, he can definitely hold his head up high at the end of this race.
And the absence of Cooper's teammate won't have helped things here either, would they, JP? Ben Morris, of course, serving a one-race suspension.
That's correct for his part in a post-race incident last week.
Oh, whoa, big moment there. Chris Dahl was involved. The 952 also caught up in that. And therefore, the 74 is the big winner. And the 952 is, of course, Campbell. Chris Dahl, the 555. Chris Barnes in the 74, the big winner in all of that. He gets the lot of them. 3 wide. That was never going to work, but they somehow got away with it.
Yeah, a little bit of hip and shoulder there, but they got through.
I have a feeling we're going to be in a similar situation to what we were in Chicago a couple of weeks, JP, where our broadcast will finish after race control for a change. Normally race control is still working when we get off air, but they're not going to have too much to review the tape for tonight. Here's Chris Dahl.
Yeah, I think race control is going to be long gone tonight.
It's interesting to see what most of these drivers have to say. I can't think of too many questions to ask them at this point because it's been such an uneventful race. But in the meantime, have a look at this. Something to change that. Jamie Dyke down the inside trying to get by Dylan Pereira. Gotcha. Pereira drops back to third.
Oh, have a look at this.
Oh, big moment. Huge moment from Jamie Dyke. Almost lost the back end of it. That gives Pereira a sniff down the inside. Can't quite get it done. Still side by side, though, forcing the issue. Now he tucks back in. So with 5 laps to go, the elbows are out. These guys are pushing hard. The NTS replay will show you just how close Jamie Dyke came to throwing it away. Have a look at this, JP. It's not so much the move execution that's the problem. It's the exit of the corner. Whoa! Have a look at that. He was looking directly at the Armco barrier. Somehow saved it. Amazing car control.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant car control there.
On the run down towards turn 3 again. Pereira sneaks it up the inside. Can he get him back? Can he get him back? Yes, he can. Pereira, now he's needed to get across quicker to cover him off. Wasn't able to. Dyke will get the run around the outside. Now they're side by side on the run down the hill. This is awesome to watch. Pereira now fancies his chances back down the inside. Dyke forced to go to the outside. And then that's going to put him the long way around, but he's going to be on the inside for the next corner. He can't quite cover it off, can Pereira, and he's going to have to slot back in behind again. But he's going to leave it to the very last minute to hold off, to tuck back in. He's still there on the outside, forcing the issue. This is incredible stuff. Look at this pair, side by side. Pereira all over the ripple strips. Oh, magnificent driving. Exemplary stuff from this pair, as they turn it on in the battle for the final 2 spots on the podium. Pereira gets back in front. Oh, that is madness. How they both managed to go side by side for half the track, half the lap, and not make contact. That's what it's all about.
Absolute credit to the both of them.
Extraordinary. So here they go again. Pereira kissed up a little bit of dirt there. Dyke is on his inside. He needs
to hold him off. He needs to cover him.
He needs to cover him, and then he's got to cover him when he gets out of the corner as well. Been able to hold him off for the moment to turn 3. What about the run to turn 4? Yep, we've got him now. He's good. Yeah. That's really nicely done from Dylan Pereira.
Like now a little slide there.
We're back where we were for most of the night up until that point when Dyke decided to have a crack a couple of laps ago. Pereira with a car length and a half advantage on Dyke here. Pereira doing a superb job. Dylan's 1 and 2 at the moment. Robert Crisdale coming to pit lane, incidentally. And Jacob Brewer is the first car that any of our drivers may encounter if they do get to lap traffic in the course of the final 3 laps here. I can't see that being a problem. The race leader is out to a 13.4 second advantage. Dylan Rudd, of course. Here is Dylan Pereira on your screen. Margin 13.4. 56 and 31 in the book. We're going to run this one inside an hour, folks. A superb performance from all and sundry here. They've kept it clean all the way. The safety car not required tonight. Pereira and Rudd are going to be a Dylan 1-2 for the first time this season. Pereira getting ever so close to that elusive race win. And not without a huge fight. A huge challenge from Jamie Dyke here all the way through. Down to turn 3. Pereira holds him off for the moment, JP. It's not over yet, though. It's not over yet. Dyke will quite rightly throw everything at this.
And you can see going into turn 3, that's where Dyke is the strongest. He just needs to be a little bit closer to Pereira, and that's where he's going to try and make his move, either going in or going on the run down to turn 4.
That's where they go again. Oh, have a look at this madness. Have a look at this. 3 wide on the run up to 3. One of the, that's David Kirby, is it not? 307, getting up there on the inside of all of that. So that's actually not a bad run from him. Craig Schultz is there in behind all of that madness. Ty Turner and Lindsay Hobbs as well as they come down the hill.
And no one blinking.
No. Awesome performance there from Kirby to get that job done. Last lap board in the air.
Now, have a look at this.
Dyke's got to run. A clean run out of 1, and Dyke will have a crack at 3. Every marker needs to be perfect from this point forward. It's almost like a gymnastics routine at the Olympics. Everything has to be right.
Now he's
or diving.
He's going to fake Pereira into a late braking move here. He'll brake early. If he does that, he'll get a much better run out of 3.
So easy to articulate that at this point of the race. I doubt that these guys are thinking too much about it because their head is right in, their brain is very much switched on to what's on track. If they can keep a level head about it, they might just have the upper hand on their opponent. But if they're a little bit too nervous, it'll show. And Dyke hasn't been able to get the better of Pereira here. So in the meantime, Dylan Rudd's going to come around onto the main straight and take the checkered flag now, ladies and gentlemen, and grab yet another race win in the RSRA Super Series. The Devon Stove Design 160 at the Red Bull Ring, and just try and stop this bloke in the next couple of weeks, because this is a race that'll give him one hand on the championship, I'd have to say. Rudd wins in Austria in outstanding and dominant fashion. Pereira's going to hold on for second. Pereira gets the better of Dyke, but only just. Great racing from that pair. The margin ended up winding back to 9.6. So Rudd conserved on that last lap big time. Now the race back to pit lane is on. Has everyone got enough fuel on board? Well done, Dylan Rudd. Holden, lock it out. Pereira second, Jamie Dyke third, then Aaron Dodd, Cameron Jones, Peter Crossingham, Rehan Leonard, Simon Chadwick, Sean McNamara, and Alex Court for the top 10. They caught one of the big movers of the night from 20th to 10th. Rick Sibra was 11th, Dean Power, David Kirby, Ty Turner, Lindsay Hobbs, the top 15. And then Craig Schultz, Dean Alessi, Brenton Nitschke, Sam Noble, and Chris Barnes. Well, JP, what it lacked in drama and steward work for our race officials, it made up for in a magnificent display of what this series is all about. That was clean, it was professional, it was run faultlessly by the guys at the front end of town and run inside an hour for the first time in this series as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant racing by everyone tonight, and absolutely Dylan Rudd was the class of the field once again. Made it look easy, but that battle between Dylan Pereira and Jamie Dyke there at the end, fantastic racing by those guys.
Celebrate with Dylan Rudd now.
I think this is one of the first tracks where he's actually had a lot of room to do burnouts.
Yeah, exactly. Well, A, a lot of room, and B, a lot of fuel. Superbly done. We'll have a chat to the top three for you in just a moment, folks. Looks like we might get a bit of an early mark tonight. I'm not going to say no to that. And just 4 rounds left in this championship, 2/3 of the season done. And Dylan Rudd getting the job done at the RedBullring. Here come the unofficial results for you now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it'll take too long for these to be ratified as official. Dylan Rudd, 9.6. He's going to go again, and rightly so. 9.6 seconds the advantage over Dylan Pereira. Jamie Dyke third, then Aaron Dodd. Cameron Jones came home in fifth. As you can see, big gaps between most of the field tonight, folks. It was a little bit processional in the end. You occasionally get that. It makes you appreciate the weeks where there's action aplenty and you've got to look somewhere and you can't take your eyes off what's going on and you miss something in the process. Let me tell you. Peter Crossingham was 6th, Rehan Leonage was 7th. Then you go back to Simon Chadwick, Sean McNamara, and Alex Court. Rick Sibra, Dean Power, David Kirby, then Kai Turner, Lindsay Hobbs, Craig Schultz, Dean Alessi, and Brenton Nitschke, and then Sam Noble and Chris Barnes. Only 6 Fords in the top 20 tonight, so a big win for the Commodores. And then you go back to Dean Reddit, Mitch Campbell, Alan Dawson, Brian Cooper, Matthew Scholes, Rod Hollis, Hayden Norris, Jacob Brewer, Robert Crisdale, who was 1 lap down in the end, but everyone that started got home. That was superb. Really well done. Dylan Pereira is going to join us for a chat in a moment, as will Dylan Rudd, as will Jamie Dyke. And I dare say the latter two will be really happy with how that played out. We might start with Dylan Pereira because he's the first one to lobby in. Dylan, I mentioned last week that you're slowly but surely climbing your way towards the top of the mountain. Unfortunately, it was 9 seconds further up the road to the top of the mountain tonight, but what a race you had for second.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here again and chatting to you. Yeah, stoked to be on the podium again. Dylan Rudd on another level,
Yes.
a race of his own, but really good battle with Jamie Dyke. Some pretty fun last few laps there as well. So congrats to Jamie on a great race.
Yeah, congrats to him indeed. In fact, he joins us now, so let me do a little bit of back and forth with the two of you here. Jamie, well done, mate. In the end, the first 3 on the grid were home in the first 3 positions, but you two did a little bit of a switcheroo. You threw everything at it, but unfortunately, you just couldn't find a way by Dylan in the end there.
Actually, I felt I had a bit of pace on Dylan. He drove a good race, clean car, blocked where he needed to, and probably the one spot that I could have got him on the penultimate lap, I lit the rears up and just kind of threw it away.
Well, I was going to say, that was the big moment there in the closing stages. How close were you guys to staring at the Armco there at one point? It looked like one of you was going to throw it away at one point. Was that you, Jamie?
Yeah, I had a really stiff setup on the car, and yeah, the goal was not to light him up, and towards the end I lit him up.
It happens. JP was mentioning in the commentary, and I want to go back and revisit that right now. He said, if you can, all you had to do going up towards turn 2 or turn 3 was brake a little bit earlier, try and get your foot on the throttle coming out of 3 a little bit earlier than Dylan, you would have had the run going down into 4. It's easy enough for us as commentators to sit here and say that. It's another thing for you guys to execute it in the heat of the moment, because you guys, everything I would suggest was out the window at that point. You were just trying to find a way past the car in front.
Yeah, correct. And I actually think turn three is a really bad spot to pass. You want to be on the outside so you can run around and get a good drive. And yeah, I'm struggling through turn one. I couldn't get a run up onto Dylan's left hand side. So yeah, turn four was the only spot I could really do it. And yeah, well done, Dylan. Second, that was great.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah, great battle.
hey, Dylan, just on that, and I'll come to Dylan Rudd as the race winner in just a moment. Normally we go race winner first, but he was last into the room, so we're going in reverse order tonight. Dylan, mate, that was just extraordinary. The closing stages there, where you and Jamie were side by side for what seemed like half the track. An incredible amount of trust needs to be placed on the car alongside you in that situation, and you two did not scrape a coat of varnish anywhere in that half a lap. That was mega stuff.
Yeah, it was super fun and really respectful driving from Jamie, and I think that's what this series really promotes is clean, hard racing, and we all know that that's the aim. So, really good to have that close battle at the end, and I thought Jamie might run away with it, but yeah, I was lucky to stick behind him and get past again.
59.
Actually, I saw
You go,
Aaron
Jamie.
coming. I saw Aaron coming, and he got from like 5 seconds down to 2 seconds. I'm like, you can have it. I like this podium.
And that's the thing too. Aaron Dodd was coming, but uh, there must have been an issue in one of his pit stops because he lost a tremendous amount of time there, unfortunately for him. In saying all of that, let's bring in the race winner now, Dylan Rudd. You made that look relatively simple tonight. Well done.
Yeah, thanks guys. Was just pulled a gap in the first and then just kind of cruised around for the rest of the race. So not too much pressure, but yeah, fairly simple race tonight.
Now, I'll no doubt get a message here very shortly from my producer saying who got clean races, who got bonus points, etc., and so forth. One clean race tonight, believe it. No one with a clean race. Ah, well, there you go. No one with a clean race tonight. So that would suggest to me, particularly you, Dylan Pereira, and Jamie Dyke, that the track limits might have been abused a little bit tonight. Was that the case?
Yeah, I got
Excellent.
one. I got one early, and then with Jamie so close behind and putting the pressure, there was no way I was going to adhere to the track limits the whole race. So had to use up as much as I could to stay ahead.
I, I understeered second last corner, lap one on cold tires, and yeah, after that it was everyone's game.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's the thing too. When you've got that 5 points on your mind and you've got a clean race going on, it's so easy to get caught up in the well. I could really use those 5 championship points, but as soon as you get a 1x or a 4x or whatever the case may be, you stop caring and you just abuse the limits to within the point where you you can abuse the privilege, but you don't get penalised for it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Very nicely done. Hey, Dylan Rudd, let me bring you back in at this point in time, mate. Being the new circuit, level playing field for a few of these guys, an opportunity to test everybody against each other in an environment where we haven't seen a lot of racing before. And you smoked them. 11 seconds you had on the field going into the last lap, and then you just went into cruise control by the look of it.
Yeah, the last 5 laps just backed it off completely. There was no need to do anything silly in those laps. So yeah, just cruised it home.
And no need to run out of fuel either, because for the first time this season, we've seen you in a position to not just do one set of burnouts, but two. And it's actually nice to see you win on a racetrack where you've got a little bit of runoff area to do such a performance.
Yeah, definitely improved from the I think it was Chicago. That is had a bit of a mess of it there. So
Well, all good. Now, already have been informed that championship points are ready, And I believe no one has been to the stewards room post race as well. So the race control boys, I think they're all ready to knock off, which means we're going to get an early mark tonight too. Let me just come back to you, Dylan Pereira and Jamie Dyke. What do you make of the new circuit, boys? We know that Dylan Rudd's happy with it because he's just gone out there and smoked the competition. But for you guys, what do you make of it tonight?
I'll go first. I really liked it. Thought it had a bit of everything. Nice, fast flowing corners, some tight ones as well. Yeah, really enjoyable.
It's a it's a really good track. I mean, they've done this really well. It's just you never know how much aero a supercar has on it until you're in a heavy draft track with aero wash.
And that's the interesting thing too, isn't it? And I mentioned it in the commentary, and again, this comes back to Pereira and Dyke here. Um, the fact that it was a racetrack where a lot of long straights dominate the makeup of the circuit made it very hard to try and get away from the competition, given that they had such good slipstreaming opportunities and draft opportunities to try and stay with you. Did you notice that, Dylan?
I think Dylan Rudd drove away pretty easily because he's a bit of a couple of leagues above us. But yeah, couldn't get away from Jamie at all. But also the track allowed good overtaking if you get a nice run. So I think a track that rewards good exits and good pace to gain positions is really good.
Indeed. And Jamie Dyke, what do you make of it, mate? Because again, the last couple of weeks, slipstreaming and that haven't been a factor because of the street circuits and the nature of them. Here, slipstreaming, a lot of close battles, mainly between you and Dylan for second and third there, and there are a couple further down the order that we didn't really get to pay close attention to because we were absorbed in your battle.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love this track. Absolutely adore it. I was a little worried about Chadwick and Rehan at the start, but I just put my head down and tried to capitalize Dylan's few errors.
Well, actually, on that, Jamie, you've reminded me of something I'd completely forgotten about. The race itself, that battle early on with Rehan and about 3 or 4 others, including yourself there, that really shook things up because as soon as Rehan made his little mistake coming into, I think it's turn 5 there or turn 4, it just goes to show how bunched up the pack was and how costly mistakes were because in the midst of all of that, Chadwick gained 2 and he lost 4.
Yeah. Oh, it's a very punishing track if you're not clean.
Speaking of punishing circuits, I believe we're off to Imola next week and then on to Twin Ring, Phillip Island, and Bathurst. So the Imola circuit in Italy we'll get to in just a moment. In the meantime, let's have a look at the updated championship points and then we'll continue the conversation here. This is how it stands at the end of this round, ladies and gentlemen. Round 8 of the RSRA Super Series, the Devon Stove Design Red Bull 160, of course. Dylan Rudd just extends that lead again, and it's almost unassailable now. He could well be in a position, ladies and gentlemen, where he has the title wrapped up before we get to Bathurst. Look at that, 133 points. Given when we get to Bathurst, there are 2 races, so 2 opportunities for, clean races, bonuses, all that sort of stuff. Of course, you get the bonus points for pole position. Hang on. No, yeah, I'm just getting it. I'm just getting it in my earpiece that apparently Dylan has to drop around, but I don't think that was written into the regulations. That might just be a late last minute update to try and build up the tension for the grand finale. 133 points is the advantage. Dylan Rudd to Rehan Leonage, 1,069. Then Dylan Pereira and Jamie Dyke up to third and fourth. Matthew Scholes drops down to fifth in all of that. So the boys have made some progress tonight. Rehan Leonage is within sight. So the top 3 on the podium tonight could end up being the top 3 of the championship, the way that things are going here. But Rehan will hold his own, I'm sure, across the next 4 weeks. In all of that, I mean, that's huge. So you've got to qualify. So I'm just trying to work out the points bonus for that final week. It'll be 2 potential clean races. So there's 5 points in each. And then you've got qualifying. So there's another 5 points, so 15 and 150 if you get the race win in both. So as long as Dylan Rudd's 165 points clear going into Bathurst, he'll have the title wrapped up. And 161 points, fitting numbers considering we were already talking about Bathurst. 161 points between first and fifth at the moment. 8 points then back to Peter Crossingham. Dean Reddit is a distant seventh. Then Dean Alessi, 25 points further back. He's only got 6 on Alex Cord, who didn't have his best run tonight, but he still got back to the top 10. And Mitch Campbell was 10th in the points standings there, 945 points. Simon Chadwick, then Alan Dawson, Aaron Dodd, Lindsay Hobbs, Craig Schultz, Brian Cooper, Sam Noble, Rod Hollis, Sean McNamara, and Chris Barnes. From 21 to 30, and then we'll let the list scroll here. It's Cameron Jones, Brenton Nitschke, then Hayden Norris, Rick Sibra, Dean Power, David Kirby, Ben Morris, Robert Crisdale, Ash Davis, and Michael Angus. That's your top 30 at the moment. As you can see, big difference between first and last at this point, but we'll wait and see the ramifications of all of that as we go going forward in the next 4 weeks of the championship. 3 different countries over the next 4 weeks, 3 great circuits in terms of their space, their wide open nature, and then walls either side when you get to Mount Panorama, no margin for error in Bathurst. So what's going to be interesting here is the next 3 weeks. So 33 laps at the Imola circuit, 48 at Twin Ring, and then 36 laps when we get to Phillip Island. So a lot of laps ahead of you guys. Let me get your thoughts, Dylan Rudd, on all of that. Obviously, the Red Bull Ring, the new circuit, and iRacing. There's another new circuit on the way. They tell us that they've commenced work on the Hungaro Ring. Your thoughts on that? Because when you think of 2 racetracks, one's horsepower dominated and one's a bit more technical. You couldn't get too different than Red Bull Ring and Hungaro Ring.
Yeah, definitely be interesting with the supercars. A bit different to all the other cars, such as GTs and all the other high aero cars. So, we have to see how it goes when it comes out.
Indeed. Dylan Pereira, Jamie Dyke, we, of course, all sat down and watched Formula One from there a couple of weeks back. What are your thoughts on the Hungaro Ring, Dylan?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the more variety of tracks we get out, the more we have to develop and really showcase our skills and work on our skill sets. So I'm looking forward to it.
Jamie?
Yeah, I can't wait. I love it. I love everything about Hungaro Ring, and let's just hope that it comes before the rain update and no one does a Bottas.
Exactly. Let's talk quickly. I won't worry too much about Dylan because his strategy didn't factor into the equation of things tonight. He was just that far out in front. It wasn't even funny. It was a contest for third because Daylight was a clear second. Dylan Pereira and Jamie Dyke. Strategy from you two boys. Obviously, the fuel strategy was pretty simple. We knew where we had to go with that. The fuel numbers made it pretty simple. Once you divided 46.2 by 3.3, it left you with 14. So we knew that the pit window would be 14 laps first up. Everyone usually stretches that first run, and then you had a little bit of flexibility with where you stopped second time round, provided that you gave yourself enough fuel for the run home and the cool down lap. Did we take tyres in the second stop or the first, Dylan?
Yeah, I took tyres in the second stop, and there was actually a little less fuel allowed for us in the iRacing service. So it's actually, I think, 13 laps when I came in. So that threw a bit of a curveball just before before race start. Thought there might have been a chance for maybe an undercut from Jamie, but I was pretty committed to going tyres second stop.
Didn't look like the easiest circuit to save any fuel on, Jamie.
No, it's not. There's a little bit, but you really got to get those runs out of turn 1 and turn 3 pretty smack on to save any. And I just followed the basic strategy, same as Dylan. I saved a little bit in the first stint, but obviously it wasn't enough.
All right. That being said, awesome performance from you guys tonight. I'll get to you in just a moment with your thoughts and your thank yous as well. Dylan Rudd, let me come back to you. How do you feel about that now that you've extended the points lead, now that you've got 133 up your sleeve? It's only going up, it's not going down. What's the key to these guys to catching you, and can you wrap it up with a week to go if they can't?
Yeah, just need to keep putting in the good finishes. Um, keeping my race clean. Obviously, getting an early lead and not getting into trouble on lap one is a good thing. So yeah, just need to keep doing what I'm doing.
Tell you what, whoever draws the tall straw and gets paired with Dylan Rudd for the Bathurst 1000 in December here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, formidable combination. What this guy's doing at the moment, I tell you what, Lachlan Murphy and Rainer Costello's crown is in jeopardy. They may not be able to defend that. Well done tonight, Dylan Rudd. Fantastic performance from you. What are your thoughts on Imola? Because that's the next stop. It's a cracking circuit. Again, it's a bit different to how it used to be. There's that long run out of the last corner all the way down to turn one now, and the Tamburello, but at the same time, it provides a little bit of a different challenge to the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, definitely one of the better tracks on the calendar, in my opinion. So definitely can be some good racing there. So I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as immensely. I was a little bit surprised that we didn't get a safety car tonight, but everyone kept it clean to their credit. Well done to the entire field tonight. Jamie Dyke and Dylan Pereira, your thoughts? I'll go to you first, Jamie, this time round on the former home of the San Marino Grand Prix being our next stop.
Imola's one of those ones that's you got to put your money where your mouth is. There's a lot of bumps, and another track I absolutely adore. Can't wait.
And Dylan Pereira, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, same as Jamie. Cracker of a track. Haven't driven the V8 supercar there, but really looking forward to it.
Very nicely done, boys. Let's get to some thank yous, and if there's anything else we can think of in the meantime, we'll get back to it. But in the meantime, Dylan Rudd, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just like to thank all the guys at 95 SimSport, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, iClean Solar, Ipswich and Brisbane, Boss Surveillance Systems, Bauer Media, Racing Ears Custom Ear Protection, 80 3D printing services, Cutting Edge Tracks, and RSW Graphics.
All right, Dylan Pereira, PB for you, second position. You must have a few people you want to acknowledge.
Yeah, definitely. Want to thank JP for putting on a great series. SimShed Broadcasting, Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, Warana, Ganassi, DSL Welding Services, Abruzzi Australia, VR Covers, Cars for Hope, Racing with Autism Australia, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and a big thank you to also Laz for the setups and all the support.
And Jamie Dyke, you're next on the agenda here. Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank blackwolfgraphics.com.au, DC Shades, Precision Sim Training, Relax Marine and Game Fishing, Sideways Photography, and all the lovely boys and girls in the stewards room. You deserve this, Yawn. Well done. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, the 95 SimSport team, JP, as I bring you back into the discussion here, they're having a cracking run at the moment after Sean's success last week, Dylan's the week before, and now Dylan's again tonight. They're formidable, and they're going to be difficult to stop.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not by accident either. These guys work hard. They do the practice, and they're where they should be.
Indeed, they are. Just reminding you, if you're just joining us, round 8 of the RSRA Super Series in the can now. Dylan Rudd getting the job done from Dylan Pereira. Yes, a Dylan 1-2, and Jamie Dyke in third place tonight. Aaron Dodd was fourth. In the end, he only was 2 seconds away from that cracking scrap for second and third, but it was to no avail in the end. He's late charged there. And Cameron Jones, the man who dominated so much of the race in Detroit last week until he crashed out, he only managed fifth tonight. Peter Crossingham, well done. He got up into sixth position after starting on the grid in position number 9. Rehan Leonard, Simon Chadwick, Sean McNamara, and Alex Court made up the top 10. Before we go, just spitballing some rubbish and ideas here in my own head. I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. We talked about the rain last week. We talked about the Hungaro ring. What about other things within the realms of iRacing. Obviously, they're constantly reinventing the wheel and making updates and upgrades. Is there something missing from the iRacing server as general pundits that you would like to see? And this doesn't have to be supercar or circuit specific, but is there a particular car or a racetrack or a feature of real world racing that you guys would like to see incorporated into the sim world? Dylan Rudd, you're first.
Um, Obviously, I'd like to see some more Aussie tracks, but yeah, since we're a very small portion of the iRacing community, it's probably unlikely to happen. So yeah, that's probably my only thing.
The Yank. The Yanks do dominate the platform, but it'll just be a case of when the Yanks are allowed here without quarantining before I dare say they might come out and scan some more tracks. There would be a market for it, no doubt about that. Jamie Dyke.
Oh, I'll be biased. I want Aussie tracks. Give us all of them.
Well, yeah, beggars can't be choosers, but I'm hearing you, and it'd make it easy for old JP here in terms of planning the series. He'd just have an Australian-based series 1 year or 1 season, and then do an international one, and then maybe come back and do a crisscross and the best of the both. It's certainly food for thought, no doubt about that. Dylan Pereira,
Yeah, I think for me it's already coming, but rain is really
yeah,
interesting.
absolutely, it will be. Excellent performance from you guys tonight. So much so that we're running well early for a change. Instead of pushing 10:30, we're not even going to make it to 10:15. A little bit of a lackluster affair in terms of action, a little bit processional in parts. You two made up for it in that in the closing stages there, Dylan Pereira and Jamie Dyke. Well done, but all smooth sailing, one-way traffic at the front of the field, and Dylan Rudd claiming another win. Thanks, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks.
Cheers, Zach.
If there's anything else you want to add, now's the time, by the way. I'll take that as a no. All right, fantastic. JP, driver of the night nomination from you, please.
Oh, look, I think it goes without saying. Dylan Rudd has to be the driver of the night. He dominated. He made it look easy, and he just smoked the opposition tonight.
Indeed, he did. I mean that. I guess for lack of you know, ability to draw a comparison here without bringing this guy back into it. This is the downside of not having Rainer Costello on the grid at the moment. The fact that we don't have what we had in that first 3 weeks where it was Rudd v Costello. We had someone that was able to attempt at least to keep Rudd honest.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is always someone faster out there, and undoubtedly, eventually they'll find their way into this series, and it'll all start again.
Now, before I thank some sponsors and look ahead on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, iRacing in their infinite wisdom, I gotta love this, are doing some service and maintenance again tomorrow night, which means that the RSRA Super 2 E Series is on the move again.
Yeah, Lord help us. Unfortunately, yeah, iRacing are doing some maintenance tomorrow night. They've decided that they're going to do their maintenance 2 hours early. So unfortunately, we won't be able to race tomorrow night because if we do try and race, there's every likelihood that the servers will stop operating halfway through the race. So we'll be racing on Thursday night instead.
Yeah, my GSRC commitments tomorrow night, they've been compromised again as well. Instead of missing out like we did last week on the second leg of our doubleheader, we're moving everything forward and shortening everything so that we can get at least some racing in. So it's a bit of a compromise, but hopefully we won't be going on like this for too much longer. JP, thank you again for all your work, not only on the mic, but also behind the scenes and in the producer's booth once again. We do it with thanks to the great people at Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, Rana, Racecraft Simulations, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Devon Stove Design, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and FU Suicide. Also, SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet, and SimShed Broadcasting. Let's look ahead for you because there's plenty to look forward to. So tomorrow night, don't turn up. We won't be here. Thursday night, Matt Davis, or Mullet Davis, as I'm now going to call him, given the haircut he's given himself in recent times. He'll explain that later in the week. It's all for a good cause, but it looks atrocious. That is Thursday night, 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. this 8th round of the RSRA Super 2E series, and that is coming to you from the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Great to have a new circuit on the server. Didn't throw up the greatest race we've ever seen, but hopefully the Super 2E series boys will turn it on tomorrow, Thursday night, now 48 hours time. Saturday night, JP and I are back again, teaming up once more to bring you Weekend Warriors Cup car racing, rather. I'm tripping over my own tongue at this point in time, and I apologise for that. But Weekend Warriors Cup car racing with you Saturday night. This week we head to Gateway, Illinois, and Worldwide Technology Raceway. So looking forward to that. And that'll come your way from the earlier time, of course, 7:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And next Tuesday night, hopefully Chris Kisby will be back. We missed him tonight, but we're looking forward to having him back in a couple of weeks, maybe next week, hopefully. The great man, for round 9 of the RSRA Super Series, and it will be from the Imola circuit in Italy. A bit of an Italian flavour. Might have to have pizza in the lead up to next Tuesday night. Who knows? Maybe some pasta. Who knows? But that'll be coming your way 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So Dylan Rudd does it again. Dylan Pereira gets a PB. Jamie Dyke gets on the podium as well. Real good night out for those guys. The rest of the competition with a little bit of work to do. And it's interesting to see Cameron Jones and Sean McNamara, who were so prominent last week, barely scraping any sort of mention tonight because they weren't able to crack the top 3 there. In fact, McNamara down in 9th position. I'm not sure how he'll feel about that, but we'll wait and see if he can bounce back next week. And Cameron Jones too. The Mustang just didn't have the oomph that it had last week. We'll wait and see if he can bounce back next Tuesday night as well. And we hope you'll rejoin us as the RSRA Super Series continues on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting across YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for your company this evening, wherever you've been tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world. On behalf of JP and the team, thanks for your company. We'll see you next week. And of course, don't forget all the great action to come later in the week here, Thursday and Saturday night as well. Bye for now.